The legend goes that the only thing cheaper than the beer at the palace are the women.
For over 40 years, there's been only one place to catch a rock show in Thunder Bay. Well, except for Crocs. Deke's Palace. 1,000 shows, 1,000 bands, 1,000 years.
One crochet stole my girlfriend when we got backstage to meet Rat in 85.
Deke's Palace.
This place has seen so much rock and roll brutality that I think the only thing holding the walls up are the cockroaches.
Deke's Palace.
We sure did get ripped when Winger headlined the Palace in 89.
She's only 17.
The loudest band I ever saw at the Palace was Snowshoe. They received a fine from the city for noise complaints. In fact, to this day, the only noise complaints ever filed in Thunder Bay was for the Snowshoe gig.
Full kitchen service and weekend buffet. The food poisoning is legendary.
Sloan actually refused to play at Deke's Palace. Chris Murphy took one look at the place, and next thing you know, they were booked at Crocs instead. I'm not sure how that went down, but they say Murphy refused to touch anything with his bare hands.
And now, you can see the history for yourself on the big screen in Deke's Palace, the movie. A documentary directed by James Cameron. Deke's Palace, the movie. Coming soon to a bowling alley near you.
Friday night, we're off to the races. Come and see familiar faces. Uncle Meat, Rob Daniels, Jon Snow. Gibby's here, it's the place to go. Grab a star of rock with Mike and the Bad Metal Man. Grab a star of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Keyboard's here, it's time for a party. And Chris has got the comment started. Grab a star of rock with Mike and the Bad Metal Man. Grab a star of rock and hold on tight as hard as you can. Grab a star of rock. Grab a star of rock.
Harrison!
Hello, hello.
Good evening, my friend. How are you?
I've been a little under the weather this week, but I'm on the mend.
Good to hear. Are you ready for us to introduce our special guest this week?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. First of all the way from Kitchener, Ontario and Ramsgate, UK, simultaneously, we have...
The cat.
Let's do this. Maybe that works better. Hello.
The cat we listening.
Good evening, fellows.
Hey, how's it going?
We have Rob Daniels from Visions and Sound. And for the first time ever, Mr. Jason Drury all the way from the UK. How are you tonight, gentlemen?
Bye, fine, thank you. Pleased to be on your show at last.
Thank you for joining me. And we have a surprise for you boys, because I think you know this gentleman.
Eric.
What's going on?
No,
I've got some more surprises for you.
Of him.
Oh, okay.
Well, these are the guys that I first met through Visions and Sound. So it's like kind of a reunion here. I think we met talking about Star Wars, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
I
I
think
believe
so,
that
yeah.
was the first show. Yeah.
There you go. And I am just pleased as punch to talk Star Wars tonight. Now, Jason, I do want you to put your thinking cap on, because I'm going to ask you a question later.
Oh, boy.
The four of us, Harrison, Eric, Rob, and myself, last 2 years ago, I think it was, we did a Star Wars ranking. We ranked all 11 films. So at some point mid-show, I'm going to be asking you for your ranking of all 11 Star Wars films.
So put your thinking cap. You didn't think you'd be doing work on this vacation, but
No, don't. No. Got enough work at 12 o'clock tonight.
Well, gentlemen, as you well know, we always like to start the show with a little thing called Ask Harrison. And we will ask Harrison a question, but we actually have one for Jason first. So, Jason, are you ready for your first question tonight?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, this is an easy one, I hope.
Hey, Jason, we have a question for you from Jazz King. And she wants to know, hey, Jason, what are the weirdest differences you notice when you come to Canada from the UK? The weirdest differences. Let us know, Jason. Is there anything weird?
You drive in the wrong direction. Yellow traffic lights.
Oh, you don't have yellow?
No, yellow traffic. The black ones. Normal black traffic lights, red, amber, green.
Oh, you're talking about the actual fixture, the metal fixture.
The color of the lights. That's what I'm talking about. Not the actual red, amber, green.
Gotcha. Rob, you may remember way back when I worked at the Beat Goes On at Stanley Park Mall, our big, not logo, I guess, but we had a big amber traffic light. That was our thing. We had it flashing outside the store. We were talking
about this with Mandy earlier, weren't we? About the differences about Margate and Ramsgate and Kitchener. It's an interesting conversation. I showed Rob on YouTube on Google Earth where I lived, and he just showed me around the area, and there are slight differences, but that's good. I don't mind that.
Have you driven in Canada?
It's a different place.
Have you driven a car in Canada?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I'm allowed to.
In the movies, it doesn't seem to matter. Okay, now Harrison.
He's not Jason Bourne.
He's not Jason Bourne, despite the similarity. Harrison, are you ready for your question? And by the way, Harrison, Jason. Harrison. Okay, Harrison. He's under the weather tonight, but he's going to take a question anyway, like the true sport he is. You ready?
Isn't Australia always under the weather? Or is that down under?
He's from Australia.
He's from Australia. So here's the question. You ready?
Hey, Harrison. It's an extremely tall-haired Mike. And my friend Jazz King from Kingston, Ontario. That's her album, Changing Gears. It's excellent. You can check out the review on my site. She has another Ask Harrison question for you regarding the 2017 collaboration between Metallica and Lady Gaga at the 59th Annual Grammy Awards. And she says, Hey, Harrison, I'm wondering what you think about the Metallica collaboration with Lady Gaga. Thanks for answering my question. She told me her husband does like a Marge Simpson voice for when he's impersonating her, so I went with it, and that's probably the last time I'll be allowed to do that. Anyway, that's today's Ask Harrison from Jazz King.
All right, so I'm going to do this in like levels going down. So I'm going to start with the idea of Metallica collaborating with Lady Gaga. I'm fine with. I like these sort of collaborations. It was only a one-off, blah, blah, blah. So the next level, the actual song itself, I would have preferred if it was a more high-profile and well-known song. Don't really care for Moth into a Flame.
Mm-hmm.
As for the actual performance itself, I know there's a significant age difference, and James was having mic issues, but I kind of preferred Gaga's bits to James on the night.
Interesting.
Well, I kind of prefer bits to. Anyway, never mind. Sorry. There was a joke in there somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where it went.
That is quite all right. Well, thank you, Harrison. And yes, he is from Australia. He is from the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken, in the Perth region, Perth province. Is it province? City.
Yeah.
You are in the city of Perth.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm currently there.
Right now, as we speak. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So let's get started. I want to talk to Jason about movie soundtracks. And I want to talk to all you guys about movie soundtracks, but obviously Jason's a special guest. So if I refer to questions just for him, you guys can jump in at your leisure. I recently watched Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I think you have seen it as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I have seen it.
On a scale of 1 to 5?
6.
Ooh. On a scale of 1 to 5?
Yes. And compared with was the
Crystal Skull.
compared with the Crystal Skull, it's better. The Crystal Skull I made a 4, so that's why I make it a 6. I think
Eric's doing math in his head.
Raiders. I'll make it an 8. 7 for Last Crusade, and maybe 6 for the third. It's just 13. Temple of Doom has not aged well, so I think it's down to a 6 these days.
So you tie with Temple of Doom, Dial of Destiny, Temple of Doom tie.
It's much better though than Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull.
That's saying faint praise.
The less said about the Crystal Skull, the better, in my opinion. Yeah. Although I don't know, Harrison, are you a fan? I know you wrote a Crystal Skull into one of your stories recently.
Yeah, I was surprised you didn't comment on that. I think that it's a perfectly fine movie up until the bit where the aliens come in.
It has its moments. I don't know. I didn't like a lot of it, to be honest with you. As much as I like Cate Blanchett, I mean, she's amazing. That stereotypical Russian officer was just, oh God. And you know, as much as I like Mads Mikkelsen in this one, I'm like, he's playing the same villain again, except maybe a little bit more laid back. You know what I mean? Any comments from the gentleman below?
Yeah, it's better than Crystal Skull, Dial of Destiny, for sure. It's a perfectly fine. I mean, Harrison thinks that Crystal Skull is perfectly fine. It's a perfectly fine film. Dial of Destiny is a perfectly fine film. I love what they did with it. I wish they had did more of what they did the last 20 minutes. I wish it was a time jumping movie itself, like they went to 3 different places, and that would have been just amazing.
Spoiler.
Yeah, but like Raiders and Temple are my 2 favorite. They're 1A, 1B. Last Crusade is like just as good. And Dial of Destiny would be my number 4. It's not perfect, but it's perfectly fine. And Crystal Skull, I hate choking that film down when I have to watch it. But I did miss.
Okay, when was the last time you had to watch it?
We did an episode on Crystal Skull, Randy. And and so we watched it, and then I had to do it again on someone else's podcast, and so I watched it again. And I mean, there are like Mike said, there are moments, and that's the thing about that film. It's full of moments, but not a cohesive whole. Yeah. I think Ford is excellent in it. I think everybody is great in it, except for LaBeouf. He's just cringe. But I think the score is better than Dial of Destiny, very much so. But there's nothing beating the original trilogy. That perfect. That the bookends are just so perfect. The way they ride out into the sunset, it's just perfect, and the scores are classics. So.
And that's where it should have ended.
Yeah, it's got exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know, the Young Indie Chronicles,
they were fun.
Was kind of a nice coda to it. It was high budget stuff, but I didn't find it to be particularly entrancing TV. Like I remember kind of resorting to watching Young Indie when there's nothing else on.
Yeah.
But you know, they also had the bookends on that show with Old Indie with One Eye, and they've since edited him out of DVD and onwards releases of the show. So
it was started with the VHS because they made them into like films. So I had the whole VHS series when they came out, like 20 years ago, and they made them into like feature films. So they combined 2 episodes into one.
Right.
So like Phantom Train of Doom, which I think is my favorite episode, was then had an hour-long extra episode after that. So yeah. They just
the only one I remember distinctly is the jazz episode, which was fantastic. That's my
one that Harrison
episode.
Ford's in.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So they kept that intro. They kept that intro, but they got the old, eye patched indie wasn't in the rest of them.
My assumption is when they edited that out, my assumption was, well, they're just doing that so that they have the option to kill off Indiana Jones at some point in the future if they decide to make, or at least have a serious aura of danger. Like you don't know if Indy's going to live because, hey, we haven't seen him as an 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Because they erased it. They erased it from our memories as well.
That's right.
They wish they could erase things from our memory. Greedo shot. What? No, I don't know. Anyway, Eric, I am so happy that you could join us tonight. This is your first time with us on Grab a Stack of Rock.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think the last time we talked to you, I think, was the Star Wars ranking show.
It was either that or we did Did we do?
We did horror
superhero?
movies.
Horror movies, maybe.
We
that.
did animated films.
Animated. I think that was, animated was the last one.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah,
That
I
was a good
always
one.
have a good time. So, and yeah.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
Now, if you recall, when we did the Star Wars ranking, you walked out.
Oh my God! Why was that?
Because Harrison, why don't you tell the story?
Did he crap on Empire or something like that?
I believe it was.
What was the score?
It was at the time that I ranked Empire second from the bottom.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. And then I said that I disliked the asteroid field.
Right. That was the. Now, I only wanted to dwell on this for a moment because I know Harrison has threatened to walk out if we bash Phantom Menace too much. But Jason, I just wanted you to repeat.
Not
to the
Phantom
audience.
Menace.
Well, the prequels, Hayden Christensen, I know, but I just want Jason to just tell us the audience one thing. My favorite quote of yours of all time. How did you describe Hayden Christensen?
Broom, walking broom handle, and it's true, still true to this day.
I'm sorry, Harrison. I just wanted him to say
It's
it because
so wooden. It's so wooden, but a broom handle could make a better performance of being Anakin Skywalker.
Jason Drury, ladies and gentlemen, that's my favorite thing. Like basically, I'm like making him perform like a clapping seal, basically at this point. But thank you, Jason. That was one of the things that you said during our radio. That was one of the things that you said during our Visions and Sound episode, where I think I had to probably mute myself. I was laughing so hard. But we did a bunch of episodes together. I think
it was really. We had a great time doing those, didn't we, Rob?
Yeah,
they were great.
I just can't remember what we all did. We did The Last Jedi. I know for sure we did. And
were you in the studio for? Was it War of the Worlds?
Yeah. I wasn't there.
Yes.
No, you weren't. Okay,
I did
that
the
was
Black
a packed
Hole
studio though. Yeah, we had a whole bunch of people in that one.
That's when I nearly collapsed on the floor at the end of it.
Yeah.
But we had so much fun talking Star Wars, and I was absolutely blown away by all of your knowledge, as always. But also, may as well take advantage of telling this story again. Eric has some history with the soundtrack to the Phantom Menace, I believe it was, right?
Oh, yeah.
You broke the internet or something like that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So back in the days when the internet was much more fragile than it is now, Eric Woods broke the internet.
Oh, quickly, I got the world broadcast premiere of the Phantom Menace for some reason. My rep at Sony Classical here in Canada sent me, like, everybody was getting the single, the Duel of Fate single. You could play that. Everybody was playing that. But for some reason, she included the soundtrack. And so I had to call her and say, can I play this on the show? And she says, yes, we're giving you the world broadcast premiere of the Phantom Menace. And I'm like, okay. So I put a message out on the Film Score Monthly message board. The Force.net picked that up. And that was the big Star Wars.
They were huge.
And so that exploded and went out to the rest of the world. And so as I was getting prepped to do the show at Saturday morning, I was getting calls from all over the world, Philippines, Germany, Massachusetts. And so the live stream could only handle about 100 concurrent listeners, I think. I'd have to go back and read the original email that I got from a very angry radio and IT person. But I think at that time, then the stream that we had going out, the real audio stream, was starting to hemorrhage about 20 minutes before the show started. And about 10 minutes into my show, about 3,000 to 4,000 people tried to log on at the exact same time. And the stream hemorrhaged, which then basically took down the entire Mohawk College server. And so that was out for 3 days. And the guy said, thank God nothing was going on in the school because it was summer break. But if it had happened earlier, it would have caused absolute chaos with the school. So I think the question was like, what the hell were you doing on Saturday? And all my station managers said, hey, we're playing stuff that people want to hear. So, it was down for 3 days. And it's my former station manager's favorite radio story of all time. And he's been in radio forever. And so that's how Star Wars helped destroy the internet at Mohawk.
I'm just looking for my copy. Oh, damn.
I can get the Ultimate Edition if you like.
That's all I have. I only have
I
the
can get
Ultimate.
those too, yeah.
I need the single disc edition. I don't think I have it. Oh well.
Didn't you used to have it because you saw Qui-Gon's noble end?
It's got to be around here somewhere then.
Yeah, so that's the radio single that everybody got. All stations, even like the rock stations and all classical stations got that. And then that was the one that they sent me. And I was like, holy cow, that's so cool. So
is that
you can hear a bit of the opening of my show on my website in the about section, and I sound like an absolute lunatic. Like, oh my god, here we go, we're gonna play Star Wars today, I hope you guys are ready. All right, now here's Star Wars. And that's exactly what I sounded like. It was insane. But that was that's the radio single. Yeah, that was it.
Is that Jewel of the Fates just the orchestra one, or is it like the one that has the voiceovers as well?
Yeah, so the voiceover one is only available on the Ultimate Edition, and this was just the single that they the normal version of one track. That's it. So, and we all got it. Rob, you got this too, right?
I have this, but I did not get it. Was not sent to the radio station. No.
Oh no, it wasn't. Oh, okay.
No.
Wow. You know, I Harrison's a younger fella, so he doesn't have the same memories that we do. But like, do you guys remember? And starting with Jason, do you guys remember like where you were the first time you heard Duel of the Fates, or even the first time you saw that trailer, the first trailer for Phantom Menace in '98? You know, that when that trailer dropped at the end of '98.
I remember it was on the same night that they had the they started this Canadian. They were showing films of the Canadian Film Board, and they showed the sweater.
Yes.
Before they started the film trailers, and good Lord, people were booing. People were like, "Get it off! Who cares?"
That made my top animated list when we did the animated show.
Yeah. This is the thing. So then it finally ends, and the first trailer comes up with the Phantom Menace. People just went ape when it first came up. You know, what is it? There is a legend or whatever.
Yeah. Every legend has a beginning.
When that came up, everybody was just everybody got silent, and then the whole Star Wars thing started, and people were just like losing their minds.
Yeah.
I think the film that we saw it at was Wing Commander.
Interesting.
I think it was Wing Commander.
Was that Freddie Prinze Jr.?
That was Freddie Prinze Jr.
Who figures into the story later on.
Matthew Lillard.
Yes.
And one of the worst special effects films to feature hairless rats in history. If you are familiar with the story of Wing Commander, the video games actually have Mark Hamill in them.
That's right.
And a
David Suchet.
And there's a cast of hundreds in there, well-known actors.
Yeah.
So when they bring it to the big screen, who's the big draw? Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard and Jürgen Prochnow were the big draws to that. And they barely showed the Kilrathi. They were on the screen for seconds, and they looked like hairless rats. That was pretty much it. They were supposed to be these formidable cat-like characters, and they did not look anything like what they were supposed to look like. In any case, so that was the night that we saw the Phantom Menace trailer.
And you know, with that following it, the Phantom Menace trailer could have been a complete piece of crap, and you would have been like, well, at least it was better than the movie we saw.
Exactly.
Well, do you remember the movie it was attached to that everybody bought a ticket to, just saw the trailer, but didn't see the rest of the movie? Do anybody remember what it was attached to?
No, but I know that happened.
Yeah, that was...
I can't remember, Jason.
So it was Meet Joe Black.
That's right.
So Meet Joe Black it broke the box office that weekend, but that's where the trailer debuted, and I think it was like the next day or something like that. Then we all got it on the internet, and I can remember waiting like half an hour to an hour for that thing to download so we can all watch it.
Yeah.
But Meet Joe Black was the film that got it, and nobody watched that movie, which is kind of funny.
Or nobody would admit watching that movie.
Right, true, that's right. Yeah,
but yeah,
it's bad.
What about you, Jason? Where were you?
Well, I must have seen the trailer. I remember the poster a lot more than the trailer. I think
Mhm.
the
With
poster
the
was
shadow
young
on
Anakin
the.
with the shadow of Darth Vader. I remember seeing that a lot. I remember the first time I heard Jewel of the Face was when I bought the soundtrack album before I saw the film and was disappointed it wasn't a complete score. But I do remember. I remember going to see the film. I think at the Carlton Cinema. I think it was, yeah. I think I took Mandy. I took her as well. She wanted. She came for the ride to have a look at it as well, and we were highly, extremely underwhelmed.
Really?
I really wanted to enjoy the. Really wanted to be a really good film. I loved the first three films. We saw just come out a few years later from the enhanced editions of the original Star Wars trilogy and enjoyed them. So I was really hoping it'd be a good movie. Liam Neeson's okay. He had some great fight sequences, but the kids started to annoy me. I had that feeling. What was it? This guy playing Skywalker. I like Sammy. Only thing we're watching at that point was Samuel Jackson. Just trying not to go to Samuel Jackson for the role, but it had some moments, but it was in the end a bit more a tax audit would be more exciting at some points of the film.
We almost got that in the movie, didn't we?
Well, it was talking about taxation and trade negotiations
exactly.
and okay, go ahead.
It was overseeing what the Brexit negotiations turned into. It was just as exciting as that.
They predicted Brexit.
Yeah.
I had a completely different experience. Rob knows I was working at the record store at that time, and it used to be called Silver City. The cinema just opened. I think it was opening night.
Yeah.
And the guy I was working with that night, Dave Holmes, is like, "Hey, do you want to go see a movie tonight with me and my buddy Ollie? It's just down the street." And I was like, "Yeah, what's playing?" Star Trek Insurrection. So I'm like, "Okay, I haven't seen it. Let's go." It might have even been opening night for Star Trek Insurrection. Might have been. I don't remember. It wasn't super packed, but it was a good, sized audience. But we sat, and of course, the trailer for Phantom Menace ran before Star Trek, which I found the irony there great. But I loved it. We all loved it. All three of us were just sitting there. We're talking about, what is that thing? What is that? And, I think some of the most striking images from that trailer were when the Gungans were coming out of the fog. And we're like, what is that? And of course, the scenes of Darth Maul when he ignites the second blade of his lightsaber, we're like, whoa, that's a thing. And, the scenery, I think, is still in Phantom Menace, the Naboo stuff in particular, top notch. Then we saw the film, and my sister and I booked the day off work to go see Phantom Menace, and we loved it. We had some qualms, it's a little kiddie, and the pod race was a little long, but it's just a setup. It's a setup. The story is still to come, is how we felt about it at the time. But we got out of there, and I said to my sister, "There's no lineup. Do you want to go see it again?" And she's like, "Yeah." So we got back in line, and the girl at the counter goes, "You just saw Star Wars?" We're like, "Yeah." "And you want to see it again?" "Yeah." But we did, and you know what? Don't regret it at all. That was a fun day. That was a fun day. And only over the years, especially after Attack of the Clones came out, did I start to kind of turn more negative, because I'm like, this isn't going how I wanted it to go. And I think guys of a certain generation had our own headcanon, and maybe that's why guys like Harrison have a completely different point of view regarding Star Wars. So what was your first? You saw Phantom Menace on a TV, I would imagine, would be your only experience.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
did see it in the cinemas when they re-released it in 3D.
I have never seen that. Have you guys seen that? I had never seen
that. That was supposed to be the next big thing.
What was the point?
Phantom Menace in 3D. I actually did a show touting the fact that they were going to be bringing back all three films in 3D.
And then Disney bought it.
They did Phantom Menace, and that was it.
Yeah, and it wasn't in theaters long because I wanted to see it. I planned on seeing it, and then it was gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that was disappointing.
Now, for me, Phantom Menace, I believe I saw it not opening night, but I did see it several times in a theater that used to be known as the ICU Theater in Cambridge, and it was an independent theater that had the most insane showings. They would show films at like 2 p.m, or they would show films at like 2 a.m. So you could go after, like, I was working at the TV station at that time, and so I'd finish my shift for council, and it'd be like 11 o'clock. My friend Scott would call me up and said, "Hey, you want to go see a movie?" So we'd head off to Cambridge to this ICU theater in the Cambridge Mall, and so we'd be watching films at like 12:30 at night, and we'd get out of there at like 2 a.m, and just it was a blast because it was the only theater that I remember having the best icy machine that ever, because it was so tasty. Everything else tasted like crap. And when I would go to theaters, it would, like, the icy machines were just terrible, but this one was really good. It had this blueberry ice flavor and was really good, and was really good with their popcorn. I don't know what it was, but it just had this really good flavor to it. And I went back. I'd work. My shift used to end early in the afternoon, so I would hop in my car and head down to Cambridge and watch an afternoon showing of The Phantom Menace. I must have seen it in the theater like maybe 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
And
Four for me.
And the reason why was that Darth Maul scene where the door opens and the music starts, and it's just like it's pure bliss when you're hearing that score to this extremely well choreographed fight scene with probably one of the best movie martial artists of our day, Ray Park.
Mm-hmm.
Just nailing it when it comes to the acrobatics and the stuff that was done in the film. And I mean, I remember seeing some of the commentary on the Phantom Menace DVD. Ian McGregor was giving it as hard as Ray Park was at that time, and you can see it. It's all on the screen. Say what you will about the films, those fight scenes were really well done.
Yeah. I remember watching the rehearsals, and they had those aluminum blades that they were using. Yeah. And I remember frequently their blades they were hitting them so hard they would bend, and they would only be good for so many hits before they had to replace those aluminum blades.
Well, that's because Ian McGregor and Ray Park were really going at it.
Yeah, they were serious. Yeah. Oh, that was great stuff. You did mention the icy thing, and that leads me to another Jason question. Movie theater snacks, are they the same in the UK as we have here? Because here we have crazy amounts of candy bars and hot dogs and pizza. What do you have?
It's identical. Or I don't have.
It is.
What I usually have is a giant, great big Pepsi, Coke Zero or Pepsi Max, one without any ice. That's nice and quiet. But I don't like going to the cinema too early because it avoids all the major people going in there. And the problem with me with the cinema is somebody sitting behind me, hold all the popcorn and can drive you up the wall sometimes.
Yes, it can.
Or some kind of going in with some sort of 3-course meal on his lap. And he's what on earth is he eating this? But what? It's supposed to see watch the film, but not having lunch in the middle of it. It's absolutely crazy.
You just reminded me of something, Jason. My friend Scott, I don't know how he did it. He smuggled into a theater a full rib dinner. I kid you not, a full rib dinner with mashed potatoes and gravy. I kid you not. This was my friend Scott. I don't know how he did it or why, but he was hungry. He wanted ribs and he wanted mashed potatoes, and he brought it. I think it was Mortal Kombat that he brought it into.
The original or the recent?
The very first Mortal Kombat in, I think it was 97, 98 or 96 or whatever. So yeah, it was hilarious.
Did he manage to eat it all?
He managed to eat it all.
Wow.
And not a word was said. And this was before they had like the VIP services and that in the theaters. You know, I don't know where he had it stuffed or where he had it, but all of a sudden he pulls out this what is it, microwave dish with ribs on it, like a full rack of ribs, and then he pulls out this container of mashed potatoes and this little container of gravy and a little plastic fork, and he sat there in his chair and he ate it, and he was proud as punch that he could do that. It was hilarious.
No words.
No.
That's like something like that's a scene in a sitcom. You know, that's the last movie I went to.
Him and I would often get compared to Jerry and Newman. Jerry Seinfeld and Newman, and I always thought that was funny, but
that seems almost like more Kramer behavior to me.
Yeah.
Well, Scott looked a lot like Jerry Seinfeld, or looks a lot like Jerry Seinfeld. If you see him.
You know, the last time I went to see a movie was Black Panther, and I had truffle fries and calamari.
Oh my God.
I know, right? And I couldn't
Wow.
finish. It was so good.
Mm.
And I'll tell you something crazy. The best pizza I've ever had came from a movie theater, came from the VIP. They've like got some kind of stone baked oven, and
Wow.
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I when I go see a film, I always see it now in VIP because no freaking kids.
Yep.
No offense, Harrison.
Plenty of room.
Plenty of room and reclining seats.
Yeah.
And absolutely amazing. And then you get concierge service right up to your seat. And
I will say this though, Rob. After eating all those truffle fries and calamari in that reclining seat, I almost fell asleep.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was in Dial of Destiny, and it was getting near the end of the film, and I'm like, "Is this almost over?" Because I'm really comfortable, and I'm falling asleep here. I mean, not that I didn't enjoy the film, but it was getting like those nachos, the nachos that I had, and the even the Barks root beer, which does have caffeine in it, wasn't keeping me awake.
We have a comment here from the Meat Man.
I got a story about when I saw Dial of Destiny. It's a nice, friendly story. I first of all, I stayed awake, which is for me an absolute joy, because that's why I see films good at the earliest screening possible, so I don't fall asleep. We probably may go to the cinema next week with Rob in an evening, so I'm just hoping I stay awake.
What are you planning to see?
I don't know yet. We'll put something in mind. The portents are good. If I go to cinema this week, I think I probably will stay awake, because I'm a lot more acclimatized at the moment than I was last time I was in a good country.
Good.
But the what happened was it's a nice friendly story. It doesn't usually happen in the cinema to me. I was watching the film. It was okay. I was enjoying it to a point. You know, this is not luckily the great films like Raiders or Temple of Doom or Oscar Crusade, but to be fair to Dial of Destiny, it's not bad. It's not. We've seen worse. But what happened at the end for me was kind of nice and sweet, because there was a family. There was a woman sitting next to me. Probably with a family watching the film. And at the end of the film, this has never happened to me before. She turned to me and said, "Oh, that's sad, isn't it? That's the end of an era. It's really sad. I've never been. What do you think? Was it a nice film? It's lovely, wasn't it? It was good. Nobody's done that to me. A complete stranger saying how. What did you think of the film? I thought it was really nice. Because she thought it was like an end of an era, which is in a way it was. There's no way Harrison Ford was going to do Indiana Jones film.
Yeah.
So it was a nice thought. I thought it was really nice. Some nice lady come saying that to me and asking me what I thought of the film at the end, and it was just really nice and poignant.
That's a nice, yeah.
I have to admit that when I started thinking about, you know, that reaching the end of the film and seeing both Karen Allen and Harrison Ford on the big screen, I thought this is the end. This is, and I have to admit, I got a little misty when I was thinking about that, and to see Sala and Indy and Karen Allen back on the big screen one last time. I think that was, for me, that was up there. I mean, say what you will about Dial of Destiny. You're right about that last 20 minutes. That was really cool.
It was really good.
And I wish that the rest of the film, as you said, it was like that. I actually didn't mind the score, and I'd have to re-listen to it again because there were some really good moments in it. But I would much have preferred a more traditional sound, like Raiders. It sounded a little bit too. Eric and I have discussed this. There's a scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark where there's the truck chase,
mm-hmm.
and how everywhere it is and how amazing it sounds. And then there's a comparable scene in Rise of Skywalker where they're doing the bike chases essentially, and it's so flat, so boring. It's just like standard chase music, and it's like, John, you're so much better than this. Why are we not getting something like as dynamic as that truck chase from Raiders? And I mean, maybe it's him just an age thing. I don't know. Maybe it's a director's choice. I don't know. But in any case, I'm on the fence when it comes to the Dial of Destiny score. I think it's okay, but it's not. It's tough to beat the first three, Raiders in particular.
Did you guys order it? Did you guys order the CD? Yeah. Okay. So I've got mine coming.
I didn't.
Jason, no.
Oh,
you have it already.
We have to score right up.
Oh, so you got the first run.
I got the second run.
Oh, there were two runs already?
I was the first run. I found out about it, and then I looked at it, and then I was like, okay, let's order it. And then within 5 minutes, it was done.
Right.
And that's when everybody
that's
really
when the panic
lost
set
it.
in. That's when the $1,000 copies showed up on eBay.
That's exactly it. Then the second run happened, and I was actually on a walk with my dog, and I ran home with him. I dragged him home. Like, let's go. And so I ordered it, and then within 15 minutes, that link was gone. But it was also at a point where it was saying it wasn't available. You're still able to order it. But it's like, oh, it's not available. We'll get it to you when we can. And within 3 weeks, it arrived. Yep. So, yeah, I got it. So now I'm thinking maybe I should sell for about like $700. Anybody want it? And,
well, I ordered it recently, and I guess that's the third run. I guess. What do you think? Did Disney just underestimate the demand for a CD?
Maybe.
A number of reasons.
I have my own theory as to why it happened.
Okay, I want to hear these.
The thing is that Disney has been against physical media for a number of years now. They started it way back with Tron Uprising. Tron Uprising, the animated series, never to this day has gotten a Blu-ray or a DVD release. And so very slowly over the past couple of years, they've been slowly dropping out their it's no longer, it's coming out of the vault for a limited time. They aren't doing it anymore. They're doing digital only releases, or in this case, Disney Plus only releases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think they got caught up in the notion that, people don't buy CDs anymore. People don't buy physical media anymore.
Right.
And then they had just made that announcement. We are no longer going to be releasing Mandalorian, any of the Obi-Wan, any of the series on DVD, they will be digital exclusives. 2 weeks later, whoops, there's a huge backlash. Suddenly, Mandalorian's being released on DVD, on Blu-ray and 4K, and was it Loki,
WandaVision,
all of these series that have been that Disney has said, oh, we're only doing digital only releases, are now starting to get physical releases, because suddenly somebody at Disney wised up and said, oh, maybe we do have a market for physical releases still. So that's what I think happened with the Dial of Destiny. It got caught up in that wake.
It just seems so odd, because if you look back at the last couple of years that John Williams had, especially with physical media and his popularity out in Europe and those concerts and those lavish releases that they got, and they were like #1 albums on those classical charts, and what they were killing it. The DVDs, the expanded editions, the deluxe editions, everybody was lapping that stuff up, and you would think Disney would look at that, go, hey, you know what, John Williams will sell. And so, but it's so bizarre that they did this mail order only, because you're not going to be able to buy this in the stores, which is so strange. But what I also find funny, especially with the way physical media with music goes, is that the LP always sells, and it sells out. And well, it's so weird that this way it's the CD that's selling out, and the LP is still available. Anybody can get the LP.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it for some reason. I don't know why, but everybody's looking to buy the CD. And now you're looking at real soundtrack fans that want physical media here. And I'm not talking about just the general collectors who will just buy up all variants and whatnot. Soundtrack fans are CD fans.
Yeah.
And La La Land, Entrada, Quartet, they're all CDs. They might do a limited run of LPs, but they gear towards CD and digital. And that's what's, I think Disney is seeing right now. It's like, oh, the soundtrack fans want the disc, the digital disc, and not the analog disc. And that's really one of the most interesting thing that's happened out of this whole thing, is that how is the LP still available? How in this day and age when LPs are so popular?
When I asked this question, of actually my brother-in-law who collects a lot of vinyl. I said, in this day and age of digital, and you know that when you start playing the picture discs and that sort of thing, they're going to start degrading. As soon as you play any vinyl, it starts to degrade. And eventually it's going to get to a point where it's not playable. It'll be a number of years, but it'll eventually get to that point. With a digital release, there is a chance that that will not happen. Under certain circumstances, there are certain things that will happen. But for the most part, your digital and your CD releases should last a lifetime. And so I asked my brother-in-law this, and I put it out as a general question to everybody: who's buying these albums, these LPs? This was specifically for the what was it? The Starship Troopers release. And I went, who's buying this? Like, why is it LP exclusive when there is a slew of as you put it, soundtrack fans out there that are buying CDs still? And the answer I got back was that there is a sound quality difference. I don't notice it. Maybe I just don't have the sensitive enough ear for it, but I don't see it. All I hear are the pops and the clicks and the sometimes the skips, where you do not hear that on a CD.
All I can hear are the shortcomings of my system. When I compare my CD rip to my vinyl, and I play them side by side, there's a lot of clarity on that CD between the instruments,
Also, got to think about the actual content, what's actually on the CD, which is 68 minutes. But considering there's a lot of film soundtracks, even the digital ones, are going way over, there should have been a lot of music missed out. and I think the album itself, the score itself, deserves an expanded release already by Mark Matisano. We need, I think, also similar. I've got the complete score of the film I can't even think about. What's it called? The previous one, the Crystal Skull. I've got a bootleg version of the complete score, but hopefully one day that Matisano will be involved in getting that done. I would mind buying that legitimately as well.
Yeah, I would buy that.
I feel that the music is a typical like album of somebody's mixing all the bits of parts, not in chronological order. It's all over the place in that respect. I would prefer these. There's a lot of scores these, like for example, Oppenheimer's got like a 90-minute album release. Why can't they do that with Dial of Destiny? Have a lot more music for people who want the music, and have the complete score, not just a highlight section, which the album is. These days, a lot of scores are released more or less complete. Why can't Dial of Destiny have been that case? Even though it why not put the album out 68 minutes and then have the digital release, the expanded version? We had an expanded version recently for Avatar. Why can't they do that for Dial of Destiny?
Oh, here we go.
There's the name, and this is the guy you have to blame for that.
Okay.
John Williams prefers his music to be presented this way, and he wants to present something more musical and not necessarily in story order. That's the shortcoming with what Williams does, and he's been doing that his whole career. Like Star Wars. I mean, if you watch Star Wars, you listen to that original Star Wars album.
Yeah.
It actually plays really, really well. The edits are actually not that bad. So if you haven't seen it, you would not know that The Last Battle is a combination of, I think, 3 or 4 separate cues.
Yeah.
And only the latter half of that big long track is actually the big Death Star battle. So Williams has always curated his albums for listening. And that's, again, one of his major shortcomings. And Mike Matisano, who is basically John Williams' right-hand man when it comes down to expanded editions, is trying to fix that problem. But the OST, the original soundtrack, will always be, the first release will be John Williams' intended version for listening. And then years later, and I don't know when we're going to get like a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull or a Dial of Destiny, because the rights are totally different for these later scores. I think 2012 might be the cutoff date. It could be actually earlier. There's a cutoff date when the American Musicians, the Federation, changed their reuse fees for how much music you can put on a CD and whatever it costs. They're not cheap. So yeah, Williams, you're gonna have to wait. Those latter scores, we're gonna have to wait. But like I said, Mike Matisano is trying to fix all those earlier scores and get the definitive release out. But yeah, the guys like Simon Franklin for like Avatar, the second one, there's an original album, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later you get a deluxe version, which has almost the complete score and in a completely different order. It's chronological order. Lauren Balfe did the same thing for Mission Impossible, the new one. So it depends what the composer wants, and then it's whatever you want to do afterwards. Whoever has the rights and what they want to do with it. But John Williams's wishes always come first.
Fair. Well, boys, I see we're getting close to 8:00 already. I can't believe it. Jason, do you have your ranking of Star Wars films?
Yes, I have my ranking ready, if I can read it.
Okay, if you can read it, start with number 11 and work your way to number 1. Here we go.
Number 11 is Attack of the Clowns. You're baiting breath this, aren't you?
What's that?
You can't wait for this. I'll do it in the dramatic form. Number 11.
Okay.
Number 11 is Attack of the Clowns. Not surprising, really, because it was a Broomstick. That was most of the film.
It's terrible.
Number 10, Phantom Menace.
Ooh.
Nice score. Same about the kid. You see a link here.
I'm seeing a pattern so far.
You guess what number 9 is, maybe? Number 9, Turn of the Sith.
Wow.
I can't listen. You're harsh.
There's one person at the end.
God.
The line I do remember from it. Some guy says when I think one of the A's of Amandala, when she dies, he says she lost the will to live.
Okay,
Thinking,
that's fair.
I lost the will watching this film.
No.
But number 8.
Okay.
Last Jedi.
Okay, hang on.
Not too. It's an okay film. It's better. Obviously, it's better than the sequel. But it's Nathan Ryan Johnson did a commendable effort, but it was a bit controversial, and the reason why it's like that because the threads wasn't from that what was left on the end of the film wasn't really picked up for the final film.
Yes.
Number 7. Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, the third one, which it was okay, but it had its a lot of faults. Number 6. Well, number 6. Number the first one was a new set, or was it last? Was it? What was it called? Was it cold? What was the Skywalker? What was the first one?
You're asking me? You did the list.
Look at the screen.
Oh, yes. Number 6. Start again. Number 6. I've completely see how good it is. I've completely forgotten his name. The Force Awakens is number 6.
Okay.
For the reason being, I did have a memorable time watching it in the cinema just after Christmas, and I remember somebody walking out after 20 minutes and never came back. I thought it was a record. Number 5. Return of the Jedi.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Surprise. There we go.
It's not bad. It's entertaining. Good film. Lot of Ewoks. And I like the final battle with Vader and Skywalker.
Yeah.
And it's I saw it recently. I think for did a show with Rob about it, and I think I did enjoy the moment with Vader. So you can see Vader literally turning to the good side.
Yes.
Side of light, even without even saying nothing. He's just
very powerful. Very powerful.
That's one of the best scenes in the entire series. Number 4. Solo.
There it is.
Which I remember seeing half of it at Eric's and fell asleep while I was there. So I must get a chance to get it finished to get a chance this time around. But I did enjoy the film.
So wait, you only seen half of it, and it's your number 4?
Well, I've not seen it all completely. I saw it when we was with you. I fell asleep. But I have seen it and loved it.
Okay.
It wasn't because the film was bad. I was just the jet lag at the time.
I thought you only saw half of it still, and you still have to watch
That's the way I was.
That makes for a great film.
I've seen all of it. It's a great movie. It's a good movie.
Okay.
All right. Number 3.
Yeah.
Rogue One.
There it is.
Love Rogue One. Great film. The Andor series is added to it as well. Added to the myth. It's a terrific film. Great score by Giacchino. One of the best scores of the entire trilogy. He really did really Williams the score. Magnificent.
I agree.
It fits to the New Hope like a glove. Which coincidentally is number 2. Number 2 is Star Wars: The New Hope, the first one, and it had to be a really good film to better it. And it's a case of George Lucas couldn't write good for toffee, but he still managed to create a phenomenon. Somebody instead, I think it was Stephen Wilson, mentioned if Star Wars had been released today, would it have been as successful now? I don't think it would have been. I think it was at the time. I think that the timing, well, not success of Star Wars. It was at least at the right time for the film, and that's why it became such a phenomenon. Maybe now it would have been a lot more digital effects. It may not have been as a major film that you said it would be as it was then, because the timing of its release was absolutely perfect for Star Wars, and it became the phenomenon it was because of that. It was one of the reasons. And the number 1 score is, drum roll, yes,
Holiday Special.
The holiday
Yes,
special.
the holiday special.
Life Day.
Caravan of Courage.
Caravan of
Justice
Courage.
for
November.
Justice for Ewoks.
Yes.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back is not just the best Star Wars film. It's one of the best films ever made because it is absolutely brilliant. The score is absolutely perfect. And you can listen to the score in your head and you know exactly what's going on. It is one of John Williams' best scores. It's up there with Superman and E.T. It is one of the greatest scores ever composed, but one of the greatest science fiction films ever composed, ever made. Terrific score. And it just... And the ending just wanted you to go back to the cinema and find out what happens next. It is perfect. To me, it's cinematic perfection, and every time I see it, it's still as good as ever.
Brilliant. Well, I can't think of a better way to end a show than with that. I didn't even get to ask you about composers and stuff, but unfortunately, I have another show that I have to tape shortly. So, look at that.
Yes.
Hey, can I come by the station tonight and I can deliver?
Oh yeah.
There you go. Gift for Jason.
By the way, Jason, accidentally, we bought 2.
Oh wow! Excellent.
So you can gift it to somebody else.
There you go. Or keep both.
You'll keep both, or maybe
Frame
a
one,
significant
put it on the
other
wall,
that
put the
lives
other.
in the UK or something that you want to give it to.
There you go. Advertise.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, you've got Visions and Sound coming up tonight.
Yep.
You're doing Visions
Yes.
and Sound.
My big-
What do you got coming up tonight?
Well, this is my live debut, so
Yeah.
I'm just praying that everything works out. I should be fine. I've got Rob here to look after me, which is good. We'll be talking about, as I'm in Canada, I'm talking as a British person, as you probably gathered, one of the top British composers ever to compose the film, the late, great John Barry. We'll be playing 6 of his scores, 6 of my favourite scores, and I hope you enjoy a lovely, smooth listening of the music of John Barry tonight.
So it's not only a John Barry special, but it's also a Jason Drury special because you did all of the music selections.
I made all the selections. I made done all the suites, and I'm looking forward to presenting them to you. And Rob's not seen the script. It's a good show, and we've got, it's got a bit of fun on it. And but as I always do, though, I never take the music is the important part of the program, and I don't make fun of the music because the music is a typical John Barry is top notch.
Awesome. Okay, so check that out on CKWR tonight, visionsandsound.ca. You can hear those 2 at midnight. And Eric, it's like what, 27th birthday of Cinematic Sound Radio, something like that?
Actually, I think today is the day. I usually just celebrate it generally in September, but
September. We're in September, yes.
Yeah, so I think today might be the day that I started on a Friday in the morning, and I played Star Wars, and I sounded like this. John Williams coming up on what was the station?
C101?
Or it wasn't C101. It was
Tony
what
Blackburn.
was it? It was CHMR. So
Tony
yeah,
Blackburn started.
but it was ridiculous rock radio. Like, hey, how's it going? James Horner's coming up next with the Rocketeer, and you know what I mean? It doesn't work, right?
No, not at all.
At all. Here's a little bit of Jerry Goldsmith with that man. How's about that? It doesn't work. So
Here's our super
So you've
song
come a long
selection.
way.
The basic
is what
tunes
you're
of
saying.
Hans Zimmer.
don't do rock radio
No.
voice when doing instrumental music. That's the
Next, we
lesson
have
for today's
some
show.
John Williams
Yeah,
from the
John
brand
Williams
new
coming up
Dial of Destiny soundtrack. And Harrison, we can find you on Instagram, and you just posted a heck of an update showing some cool behind-the-scenes artwork.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so check out Harrison's amazing Lego artwork on Instagram. He is Harrison1337. Is that what it is? Harrison underscore
1339. I
1339.
just say 1339.
I'm always off by a digit or 2. But anyways, thank you, Harrison, for joining us, even though you were under the weather. And I hate to say this, but we're going to have to get Jason back on at some point because I didn't get to finish.
Say that.
I just don't know when the heck that's going to happen.
If there's a way, we'll do it. That's
Okay.
had a great time doing this show. I would love to return when we get a chance. It'd be fantastic.
Well, I know that you're just recently in Canada and you're getting your vacation started. So I hope you guys have an awesome time.
Thank you.
Wish you all the best. Eric, as always, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
we'll just
Thanks, Harrison.
I just want to put
we
this
did because
comment.
we love.
I just want to put this comment back on here. I'm working on a cloning process, and we could in fact do that. Now, as you know,
Attack of the Woods clones.
No, Attack of the Woods clones. As you guys know, we always like to go out on a song. So what song could we possibly? We have to go out on A Vision in Sound. This is Rob's theme song, A Vision in Sound by T-Bone Erickson. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Next week, we will be live at 3 p.m. from the cottage for a very special list show, Top 5 Bald Artists. Stay tuned.
Eric Woods. Eric,
It was
this guy.
number 6.
Just out of the top 5.
Oh, you guys crack me up. But I got to go get ready for another show. And hey, I may as well plug it real quick. Recording tonight with Peter Kerr on this very controversial Deep Purple album, Slaves and Masters. So that's coming up on Peter Kerr's Rock Daydream Nation. As for now, I thank you for watching. Thank you, Jason, for joining us, Rob, Eric, and of course, always Harrison. This is A Vision in Sound by T-Bone Erickson. See ya.
No springs.